was called TASS, T-A-S-S. And they sent a press release out saying that a UFO had landed in Voronezh in Russia, and that these strange tall creatures had been seen, and it left deposits on the ground after it had departed. And the Western media got in touch with TASS, and they said, you know, is this a joke? And TASS said in a typical Soviet way, we don't joke, you know. So at that time I was working with Bufora, and I had a phone call from a Russian newspaper. I'll try and pronounce its name. It was called Izvestia. This was a national newspaper across the Soviet Union. They asked me what I thought about it, so I can't remember what I told them now, you know, I just passed a few comments. They then sent me a copy of the printed newspaper, and again, I couldn't read it. All I could see was my name, and I lived in a town then called Batley. Not far from here where I still live, but it was a town called Batley. Weeks later, I start to get letters from the Soviet Union. All it said was Philip Mantle, UFOs, Batley, England. No street number, no county, no nothing. And they kept coming and they kept coming. Most were in Russian, so I didn't have a clue. Then books were sent, again, most in Russian, but then I got a few letters in English from some of the Soviet UFO researchers, and this stuff just kept coming, Thiago. And I wrote back to the ones that I could read, and I thought, what am I going to do with all this? So again, you know, we're talking really pre-internet days, but I knew Paul Stonehill in America. Paul was originally from the Ukraine, so he speaks, reads and writes Russian. He escaped the Soviet Union, I think, when he was about 13 or around that age. He helped others escape and was even on the KGB wanted list, you know. His real name's Pavel, but it's Paul Stonehill. He lives in California. So I contacted Paul and I said, look, mate, I've got all this stuff, but I can't read a word of it. Paul says, I've got everything, Philip. I said, well, you can't have everything. I've got all these letters from people. So he says, I'll tell you what, he says, box it all up and send it to me. He even gave me his own Federal Express account number to send it. So I sent this box of material to Paul, and his reply was, excuse my language, bloody hell, you know. And that's how it all started, Thiago. So obviously, a lot of these people writing in were just members of the public, you know, telling us about what they'd seen and what have you. So Paul and I then, you know, formed a liaison to work together, and we have done and still are to this very day. And that's how it all started with the Voronezh case, which again I think had its anniversary just recently. I know I saw something about it. Talking about it once again. There was even a UFO group set themselves up in Voronezh after that event, and I corresponded with them, and they sent me an alleged UFO photograph, which we had analysed at the time, and what I did with a colleague here, I had it analysed now to see if the computer analysis was any different, and it wasn't. It was exactly the same. So it was fascinating, and you know, we made contacts, and then of course the Iron Curtain came down. Soviet Union was no longer, so then the internet. So we still have colleagues and correspondents. We're gonna have most of it now goes via Paul, because it's just easier, because he speaks the language. It just makes sense. It's like if I had something in Portuguese, what am I gonna do? I'd send it to you. You know, it just makes sense. So, you know, we're thinking about writing some more about it, but Paul is also a workaholic. He works non-stop, you know, he has a family, so it's just the time more than anything. But that's, you know, again, had that not happened, or had TASS not released it, none of the Soviet stuff. I mean, one of our books, of course, is published in Russian. We have at least 2 more waiting in the wings to be published in Russian. It was only COVID-19 that put a halt to it. So they are translated and ready to go.